But you know your time has come. Now gaze deep into your mind. Well, some people are unkind, and I'm not really sure, I wonder why. They go to building a park to drink beer, to drink beer, to drink beer, to drink beer, to drink beer.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Full Pint Podcast. This is a show where we talk about current trends and topics in the world of beer with some of the most interesting, famous, and influential members of the beer industry. I'm your host, Danny Fullpint, co-founder of thefullpint.com. Today we are joined by our president, Andy Carter. But before we begin this episode, we'd like you to know that you can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. If you enjoy the show, we'd appreciate it if you would help support this podcast and keep it free by taking a half minute to leave a 5-star rating and share it with your friends. Now let's welcome to the show our president, Andy Carter. How's it going, Andy?
Hey, Danny. You know, it's summertime. My head starts hurting. My allergies start flaring up. And all I want to do is crush a lager. Nice, clean, nice lager. Now it's hot out, so I'm all business now, baby. It's lager season.
You know, I, knock on wood, have not had any allergy episodes this year. And I think the key to that is beer.
Yes. It's a probiotic. It's a prebiotic. It's a probiotic. It's a postbiotic.
All
All otics. Yes.
So what have you been drinking lately?
Oh, good question. So I think mostly going back to, we did just a string of barbecues and cookouts lately. So I picked up some just easygoing beers that I could find fresh. And I always, try to find the freshest date can. And I picked up some Tropicalia from Creature Comforts. It's very nice. We also went 805 Cerveza. If you've had 805 and don't like 805, we'll try 805 with lime in it. It's really good. I'm a huge fan of that.
Love that one.
And, I think it's always Swami time. So we had some Swamis. It was a nice little cookout yesterday. So, yeah.
Dude, the big Swami update for May 2025.
Okay.
My Target now has it, and it's always 2 weeks old and refrigerated.
It's amazing. If you told me in 2015 that the supply chain would be figured out, beer would be fresh all the time, you never have to worry about it, I would have said you're crazy. There's no way. But here we are. It's amazing.
Yep. And then I did see Pizza Port. They're kind of teasing a new 12-pack of 12-ounce cans called Tropical IPA, but I can't get any more info on it. I guess I'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, no, just wait. It's going to show up fresh, waiting for you. It's how business gets done. They are kind of funny enough. I think Pizza Port is the Target and Walmart of craft beer. They're always on time. They always deliver at a reasonable price point, and it's fresh.
If you don't have a hard hat on, you're going to get hit with those falling prices.
Exactly. Oh, nice.
All right. Let's kick things off on this Memorial Day weekend so we can get back to drinking beer and barbecuing and all that stuff. But we really didn't want to leave our listeners and our YouTube viewers hanging. So we'll jump right into it. Last week, my DMs, your DMs, RPMs, text messages, not an April Fool's joke, an Instagram post from Urban Roots Brewery and Smokehouse in Sacramento, California, made a post. And for those not familiar with this brewery, it is one of the most underrated gems of California. Peter Huey, Rob Archie have a conglomerate of restaurants, with the main one being Urban Roots Smokehouse and Brewery. Make some of the best lager and IPA in the country, definitely in all of California. And not an April Fool's joke, they said, let's welcome our newest member and co-brewmaster, Julian Schrago. And if you are into following beer culture, beer enthusiast type trivia, Julian Schrago was the figurehead of Beechwood Brewing.
It's crazy. This is it's kind of interesting news, because I think even right before COVID and with COVID, I think the Beechwood whole operation really got all shifted. Main barbecue and eatery not there, moving locations, little infamy between the Long Beach beer scene with different people and some good competition. And now, every time I look at Schrago's Instagram, he's hiking somewhere, he's running somewhere, but I guess he ran all the way up to the NorCal because he's out of Southern California brewing.
Right. And, I have, Julian was the first guest of the Full Pint podcast back in, I don't know when, 2017. Our man Javi interviewed him. Very nice guy. We've known him for years. We haven't been in contact with him for a while, just as things go in life. But it was my understanding that Julian was part owner with Gabe Gordon. And the info that I got as a semi wannabe journalist was that Julian has moved on from Beechwood, and that now whether or not he still has some shares in this company and what even shares would look like in 2025 for any brewery is your guess is as good as mine. But he has now moved on, and the title that they've kind of given him as a co-brewmaster indicates that he will be doing some brewing. And I don't know if you can tell me or not, and I'm sure I could reach out to Julian or maybe see him at Firestone and ask, was he even brewing at Beechwood for the last few years? Because I was kind of under the impression he was kind of the director of brewing operations.
Yeah, I mean, I think like any business, I think any business that's growing like that, like Beechwood has to really be a production facility and no longer a fun R&D, weekend brewing system. Those people that are leaders need to move up and become the guys that are leading the younger crowd, and to be perfectly honest, the cheaper, lower labor cost crowd to grow the business, to brew more beer, to be more efficient. And yeah, I think it's just natural for, unless someone wants to stay cooking in the kitchen and chopping onions and throwing bags of hops in, you got to move up or move on. Victor Novak went to through Taps to Golden Road, and now I think he believes at Fig Mountain. People are moving around, and I think that's what's going to happen. It's very hard to create like a Sierra Nevada type moment or a Firestone Walker type moment where you could work there for 40 years. Your kids grow up, they move on, they want to move somewhere. Your significant other doesn't want to live in Long Beach anymore. They want to move somewhere else, and you're going to go get a gig. And if you're a known quantity, and I think that's what we've talked about this on the podcast all the time, building a brand around a person or a group of people that recognize your brand and see that, well, that's your story to take on to the next brewery. You can go from one place to the other and bring that kind of conceptualization lineage with you if you're willing to take that on yourself, as a, not saying this is happening, but as a hypothetical, say like a Matt Brandelson was not at Firestone anymore. Where would he go next? Well, everything that Firestone has invested in Matt would move on with Matt. It is not just the intellectual property of Firestone. So it's great. I mean, it's good. It's probably a good move for him. I mean, if he wants to get back in and working on things, then this is why he's doing it. He wants to get out of the office and back onto the brew deck. Makes total sense. I think this is positioning Urban Roots in a great position to grow. For those that don't know, the NorCal homebrew scene, Peter Hoey was a huge NorCal homebrewer, went through a lot of places, grew up in Sonoma wine country, brewed, worked at BSG, the main brewer supply group. And then when Urban Roots opened up, everyone's like, this is amazing. He's going to make great beer, and has made great beer. And I think this is just positioning Urban Roots to grow and just grow their footprint across the United States and just get out of, Cal, NorCal type regional. So pretty cool stuff, I think.
And that to me that's a fit. Like what you're saying sounds amazing for us, the beer drinker, but I don't even know if it's possible for a brewery now to do what you just said.
I mean, we're going to find out, right? I mean, these are the types of things that, it's very tough. Like we've said, I mean, every podcast is going to say this is just saying the same thing we've said for 2 years, but it's going to be tough to grow a business. But if you're not trying to do it, you're definitely not going to do it, right? So any opportunities people have, especially as we get more and more, we get net negative brewery closures, as in more breweries actually closing every year than just keeping even. There's going to be more market opportunities. And I do think there is a world, in my mind, and we'll come back and revisit this at the end of the year, but I think there is a world for more Sierra Nevadas across the United States that can build a brand and lineage around things when people in an uncertain time want certainty. And I think there's a possibility there. So time will tell, but there will be less breweries. And I think that allows regionals and micro regionals to grow and own a footprint.
It just, my last comment would be that it seems like So we're dealing with some artists. So Julian's very much an artist, and Peter's an artist. And if we just take away like any sort of an artistic or ego clash, I see nothing but strength out of this new relationship or entity. It sounds like a Jordan and Pippen kind of situation to me.
100%. I mean, either guy could play Jordan or Pippen at this point. If he really wanted to, Peter really wanted to let Julian go, it's possible. But I mean, I do see a good teaming coming on. Who's going to be Rodman though? Who's going to come in on the edge and help pick up those rebounds? I'm not sure. I'm sure
Jeff
there's some
Bagby. Let's get Bagby.
Bagby comes up. Okay, cool. That's good. Oh, he is very tall. I'm sure he plays
Yeah.
great basketball. So
Yep. Have the super jam band group.
Damn.
Okay, so one of my favorite things that I've been following, and this is me not doing any research, but I just been watching it with popcorn and a beer. Fiden's Brewing out of the Albany, New York area. We talked about it about 2-3 shows ago, where they had a little bit of a management change at the brewery, where they no longer were selling single cans, and put a little structure around how they sold 4-packs of beer and cases, and order on this day, pick up this day, get in line over here, check out over here. And there was this big campaign of salty sour fans. And as it's been said in this world, it was the vocal minority, but it was very loud. And I was thinking, man, this is unfortunate. Across all social media platforms, Fiden's is getting dunked on. Since we last talked, they changed their logo. They've changed. I guess their chef has changed at the restaurant there. But then I want to say 2 weeks ago, they posted a little video on Instagram. They had a Saturday beer release, and they had a line going for, wrapping around the building. And it was like, I woke up and it was 2017.
Amazing.
Right. So much for turning off their fan base. They command a line, and they're still selling out beer. And it's like, I don't, whatever that hullabaloo was a month or two ago seems to have not have phased them, and they're off to the races.
Yeah, I mean, it's still impressive these days to have a brewery that is, relatively, it's Albany isn't the middle of nowhere, right? But it is maybe not the most populous area, and to command national presence really doesn't, we've said this doesn't happen anymore. Very tough to do that, except if you have good social media marketing, which, sometimes, as they say, good, all press is good press. So potentially helping them. I do understand a little bit of that economics. Like, okay, we don't want to split packs up. We don't want to sell single cans. Slows the lines down. They want to move beer out the door. They don't want to just leave loosies around. I get it. But if people want to try a bunch, and I do think, if any time in the last decade or so of craft beer, like the consumer is going to choose a lot more than the producer is going to be choosing, right? There is no longer this ivory tower that the breweries are going to sit from, be like, hey, have you tried this hop yet? Well, we have it, and you need to buy it because you're going to need it, right? With the prices of cans going up, I think that letting the consumer decide a lot more is going to help you. And so, paying off for them, excited for them. We're going to be trying them, going to get some of those cans. They're at Firestone this weekend, so we'll be definitely trying their beer.
Oh, and also of note, they then announced shipping in New York State, which made the same group of people that have been upset their heads pop off. So I can't prove this because I'm not that deep into the weeds, but I feel like the people that were upset about the single cans were the ones that were flipping them in Facebook groups.
That makes sense. I have not hit up my fence. I should look and see if my fence is still operating. I don't think I've gotten the emails lately. I need to go see if I can sling any East Coast cans, see if they're on there.
And I want to say that on Facebook, I still see people trying to flip Monkish, Green Cheek, North Park. And then I see Lightning and I go, are they still in business? And it's not that their beer's bad. I just go, are they still in business? Like, I know Marietta is just, it's a tucked away there.
Tucked away. Yeah, I was just at Monkish actually. I was working. It's a 4-day weekend. I work a 980 shifts, so I work a little longer every day, and then I have every other Friday off. And this would be a 4-day weekend because of Memorial Day. So took off. Well, worked a little Friday, but took most of the day off. But I'm like, oh, I'm not too far from Monkish. Let's go check it out. And it's like a 2:00 on a Friday. I'm like, it can't be that busy, dude. Parking lot full. I had to park on the street. I was like, this is crazy. I mean, there's nothing much around there. I mean, Smog City's around the corner, but like no other hype. And I guess
Oh, you went to
there's a
the
couple-
original. The
Yeah,
original.
yeah. Well, yeah, I didn't go to Anaheim now. That's too rich for my blood. Eventually, it's going to open up around my house in Echo Park.
Right.
Eventually, we're going to get the Gen Z is going to get their taste of Monkish here.
You can ride your fixie.
Yeah, my fixie. I'm gonna wear. No, actually, I'm actually gonna take my broke down Mercedes Benz with me. It's got 300,000 miles on it. It gets very terrible gas mileage. Anyways, went to the old Monkish and it was very busy. They had released a couple cans. I look their like lower alcohol stuff. There's just something about their hazy beers, and when the triple IPA, triple hazies is like it's very green and bitter to me. So I tend to stay in the lower end of their spectrum.
That is my favorite stuff they make.
And they finally are getting more back to the monk part of Monkish.
Right.
There is the Belgian beers that are around, so I'm hoping to see more of that. And I would always be supporting that side of the menu. The menu is very IPA heavy and has been forever. So
I love their 8% double IPAs. It's for the same reason why I like other things that are just out of I don't know, out of kilter like that.
out of kilter, yeah. So
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Let's see. We need to talk about our boy Antonio, the Wort Wrangler.
Oh, yeah.
Wort Wrangler. Last couple of weeks have been kind of rough for our boy Antonio. Many of you listeners probably follow Wort Wrangler on Instagram. Definitely, if you are in the beer industry, if you make beer or you work in a brewery or a tap room, you've heard of him or are enjoying his content. He makes some of the best beer memes and videos, and he's an icon. And right now he's battling with a severe end of lupus right now, to where his organs are not doing too well. And it's just gross to even say, but there's a GoFundMe going on. We will share the link in the show notes, but we need to all, if we can, chip in, help the guy out. He's out of the hospital now, but it's a long road ahead, and he's been going in and out of the hospital for the last few years with this, and it just seems like he just hit a bad bump in the road recently.
Yeah, I mean, I got introduced to Wort Wrangler just by people sharing links and funny jokes, and then since then Antonio and I have met multiple times, become friends, and it really sucks to see someone down and out. It's it's debilitating disease, can't work, can't not just a job, right? A day job is one thing, but can't do what he really wants to do, which is make people laugh, and that's really really crappy. So please help out the GoFundMe. But we talk pretty much every day, and he's getting better. He's still sending out jokes onto the internal group chat that kind of sees how the sausage is made. Sometimes it's fun.
Yep.
It's actually really fun. For someone that is, I would say, says self-proclaimed saying I'm funny, but it's a different kind of humor. It's almost like a stand-up comedian type of humor that he's delivering to you, and merchandising and fun things like that. That he's still surprised sometimes when shirts sell out.
Right.
He's just like, how could it be funny? Like, can people find this funny? And yes, they do. Pilsnerish has been helping out too, so check out Pilsnerish for other. There's other like don't drink beer. Like Alex Kidd did like a raffle or a razzle. So check everyone out. Everyone's trying to support Antonio, and he really appreciates all of it. Like he is always blown away by the support he gets from this community.
Yep.
So yes, please help him out.
He's a great cat, and we need to all support him. It's the least we can do for all the joy he brings throughout the day.
Absolutely.
So, moving along, let's talk about Kirkland Lager.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you a Costco member?
Absolutely. And I got my stars. I'm officially executive. I know you gave me crap about it many episodes ago, and I am
gold stars. Like, what are we doing?
I'm the top tier now. I don't think there's a higher tier other than working there. So I'm fully baked in, baby.
All right. So this came out a year ago. I guess the tale behind this is Deschutes won a gold medal for a Helles lager, and I forget the name of the beer itself. It's pretty simple name. Maybe Andy can quick Google it. I don't know.
Go for it. I'll look for it.
But you can go, years ago, Costco sold this 30 rack or 36 rack of light beer. It was called Kirkland Light. And you couldn't even, you wouldn't want to drink that beer. That was like, you wouldn't even want to give it to homeless people. It was just some nasty, nasty stuff. And now they have Kirkland Lager, and it's beautifully branded, made by Deschutes, super crisp, super clean. About $1 a beer when you do the math. Oh, so we're drinking a Wandering Dawn.
The beer's name in GABF 2023, Deschutes won for Prince Crispy, a Helles Lager, gold medal GABF. For those that haven't had Deschutes or don't know what we're talking about, because you just started getting into craft beer, Deschutes has been one of these guys that's been around forever. You get Black Butte Porter, Mirror Pond Pale Ale. These are just classic beers, and the Fresh Squeezed, which is one of the first kind of juicy IPAs in my opinion, and still delivers every time you have it. And yeah, so just technically sound brewers, has just great beer, can always win a GABF medal if they have to. They're going to be there to do it. And so if you think about this is kind of interesting, because if you look at it, it's kind of like if Supreme made a beer or some brand needed a beer and they're really serious about supply chain. So if you think of Costco and there's a bunch of interviews because they just keep making money and people don't understand why, because no one talks to a consumer, I guess, if you're on Wall Street. You see why they deliver, right? The food prices stay very reasonable. They want, that rotisserie chicken is going to be the same price forever. The hot dog is going to be whatever it's going to be forever. And those that haven't taken a marketing class, those are called loss leaders. They want you to buy those so that you buy the other stuff that's in the building. And they want whatever you're purchasing from them to be high quality and build the brand of Costco along with Kirkland. And with Kirkland, I do remember Light, and it was terrible. So it's interesting that they even did a beer like that, could then come out and do a craft beer. And in this case, this Deschutes beer. And it's kind of getting the slow cult following within the craft beer scene because of I think it's because of the price point for value. You don't see that kind of price point for value that often in the stores. And that's what Costco's meant to do. I
can't, the beer's flawless, Andy.
Yeah.
And the old trope from you homebrewers is you can't hide flaws when you're making a light lager.
Yeah, you can't. It's very true.
Never soured, never skunked, never funky, just clean, and it's not watery. It's just a joy to drink. And I'm here for it. I hope it sticks around. My Costco doesn't get a great selection of craft beer. We get, a 24 pack of Stone something or other, probably a mixed pack of like Torpedo. Always a 24 pack of 805 bottles.
I'm winking at you. You can see that wink.
Yeah.
It's Costco's interesting. And I really highly recommend everyone read about it because, it's probably a way you're going to be drinking some of your alcohol in the future, is that if you get a contract with them, you better maintain it, right? So they say, we need a pallet every 2 days, and you slip that third day, you're not getting that space back. So when you sign up to be a vendor with them, you really got to commit. And in some ways, this is the Deschutes 805 moment. They have to make so much of this that they can never run out. And if it's successful, Costco's going to want more and only more and not less. So it's very interesting. You could see them really pulling other brands away to only make this, which is very funny. And in some ways, this is replicate of Firestone Walker. Firestone Walker did do the Mission Street series for many years, won a shit ton of awards, or Trader Joe's won a shit ton of awards for it. And so, it is pretty funny.
Yeah. And, if my memory serves me well, Deschutes was kind of in a rut until this.
Yeah.
I know they purchased Boneyard, and they, I don't know if that's a hyper local brand extension for them, because it never really got into any California markets as far as I know, unless you're Tornado, and that doesn't count.
Yeah.
And this seems like it was almost like a happy accident or just some great luck.
I mean, it's kind of like this. Like if you go and say, I want this beer at this price point, you can only change the price of the can, the quality versus ingredients versus engineering aspect of it, right? But if you sign up for Deschutes, you're gonna have to pay not just for the beer, but the technical ability and the talent behind it, right? So
Right.
they just went to ABC Brewing Co. and said, give us a lager. Well, are you going to grow into this account, right? If you write the contract correctly, you're going to say, well, we'll do the X barrels this year, Y barrels this year, Z, so on and so forth. How much packaging, how much all this stuff. And yeah, I mean, I think it was a very smart investment on Costco's ability to be, well, we don't do cold storage. I've never seen a Costco that has cold alcohol. I think that's
Some of those, maybe it's not Costco, but I'm thinking of the ones where they have like the walk-in kind of the flaps and
yeah. They do the produce, right? So first, your beer can't be cold stored, or at least on my understanding, right? So
correct.
them making like an IPA is probably like not gonna, like a Kirkland IPA.
I was gonna go. I was gonna go on a jag about. They've tried to do craft beer in the last 5 years. I think they had Widmer do a mix pack, and definitely Gordon Biersch. So it's not as easy as just saying, "Hey, brewery with some tank space, let's get going."
Yeah,
because those ones didn't do shit.
Yeah. So they like shelf stable things, or like high velocity, high volume things, right? I think maybe we love an IPA, but it isn't going to sell as fast enough, and it's going to just start rotting on the shelf.
Right.
Versus, well, if we have a small amount of a few brands that we can guarantee delivery, then we'll keep them. And then this Kirkland thing, they said, I think I read an interview, I think maybe I'm remembering this right, there's like a fixed margin they want to operate on with Kirkland. They have like really specific rules about the brand itself, and a lot of things you don't see the brand, you never see it never makes it past all the internal gates,
right,
of being accepted as a Kirkland brand. But they have a specific margin they want to target, and so and sales velocity is going to be right up there. So yeah, I mean, it sounds very engineered and not just blind luck. But cheers to Deschutes. This could have been. It's hard to say who else would have supported this volume wise. Not many people might have the volume and the mechanization to support them. I mean, this was basically, I said, like a Firestone job 10 years ago, and now they're doing their own thing, an own investment, right? So time will tell. But good cheers to Deschutes, kind of getting back on the scene.
Yep, and I love it. It's probably going to be the beer of the summer.
Beer of the summer. There we go. Calling it now. Beer of the summer.
Beer of the summer.
Lager.
All right, folks. Let's talk about Mind Haze. Firestone Walker's lineup of hazy IPAs that doesn't just blur the lines between reality and beer. They straight up obliterate it. You've got the OG Mind Haze IPA, juicy, tropical, and smooth enough to make you think, maybe I do love hazy IPA. Then there's Mind Haze Brain Melter, an imperial hazy IPA that comes in at a brain-bending 9% ABV, because sometimes sessionable just isn't in the cards. And if you're feeling particularly unhinged, Mind Haze Cosmic Crusher is here to push the limits of human understanding, or at least your tolerance for an absurdly juicy 10% IPA. What's funny about Melter and Cosmic Crusher, they don't drink like strong beer, which is good and bad. And then there's Mind Haze Rage Turbo Radler, a hazy beer meets lemonade hybrid that exists purely to confuse beer purists and refresh the rest of us. It's big flavor, low bitterness, and exactly what you want after pretending to be productive all day. Mind Haze, beer enlightenment, no meditation required. But seriously, folks, if you haven't tried these yet, what are you even doing? So, Andy, you had your Homebrew Fest.
Mm-hmm.
Give us the.
So we wrapped up the Southern California Homebrewers Festival this beginning of this May. Nice day. Usually it can be blindingly hot out, and it was a nice, cool weekend. We had a bunch of fantastic pro brewers on Friday night. We do a pro pour. A lot of guys were at CBC, so the Craft Brewers Conference, so they couldn't make it. But we found a bunch of people to come out, and then Saturday, of course, is the Homebrew Festival. Some great beers, great time, good bands. A little smaller this year, just due to a bunch of different things. But we're going to work on that for the future years to see if we can maybe garner better interest in the event. I think the kind of notable things is we always do a bragging rights competition, which started, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, which was meant to only be for the bragging rights. There's no prize and no real
Right.
judging. And we've done styles anywhere from like wheat beers to specific IPA styles. And this year we wanted to be way more broad, and we did experimental beer, so that can be basically anything, but the rules were you had to make something with local ingredients, and it couldn't be too crazy in alcohol, maybe like a 1070 OG, so something in like the 6, 7, 8% range. And it tends to go the joke, the homebrewer's kitchen sink, throw everything in there,
Right.
try my crazy beer I made with sassafras leaves, and I don't know, even sassafras is a leaf, but they'll make crazy stuff. And this was definitively the craziest one. And so I did not end up judging it. I was doing other things at the time, but most of the board of directors did judge them. And I mean, the standout ones, there was a chips and salsa beer. So
Right.
I got to try that one. I went to the brewer that the brewer made me try it later during the event. And it was definitely chips and salsa, a little spicy, little the heat and a little bit of all those spices from like having some salsa. But the bragging rights winner was a Hawaiian pizza inspired beer that used basically all the ingredients you would expect. I didn't get to try this one, but basically every person that tried it said it tasted exactly like a Hawaiian pizza.
That's
So very,
amazing.
very impressive there. So yeah, the culinary execution was pretty cool this year. Other things, it's so funny because I would say I've been going to the event for now. So for my first time it was 2012. And now I've gone to every one. Well, they didn't go to 2013, but everyone since this one minus a few years for when there was no festival. And I mean, just every year the beer gets better and better and better, and it's really tough to find a bad beer, a technically flawed beer, because everyone's abilities have gotten so much better. The education has gotten so much higher, and the ingredients. I would say the ingredients are probably better, but I don't think that matters. I think people's processes are better. So yeah, it's fun to see everyone. We gave away some great raffles. There's a dude that donated. Essentially, he does like beer tours, and whoever won got a free extra ticket. So you have to buy one ticket to his tours, but another person gets to go for free. So that was awesome. Yeah, super fun event.
How is the state of home brewing as a genre or a hobby?
It's a good question. I mean, I think it's getting smaller. You can see it in our event every year. And I just actually did a big statistical analysis of our ticket sales for the last 13, 14 years, because now we have collected the data. And every year since essentially 2013, 2014, we've had less people. And those have been for various reasons, some legal reasons and COVID and things like that. So I would say every year less. And that's definitely what we're seeing. I think that's an aging population. So we're not replacing the people that started homebrewing back in the 80s and 90s with new people as quickly as the older generations retiring, not drinking alcohol, or not homebrewing. That being said, I think we're not losing. I think there is some doom and gloom around like the decline in alcohol consumption. I think that's coming and going, and not.
Sure.
It's above my pay grade, right?
Sure.
But I think the idea that having a party and having fun is still very vibrant and active.
Right.
And it's just how we choose to market the event. We choose to market the event directly to homebrewers and not to the general drinking population for pretty serious legal reasons, actually.
Sure.
If we just made it a party, it would probably get busted by the ABC. Though we have a license and everything, it can't legally be a public event right now. So, but yeah, the homebrewing itself, I think I've said this before to people at my club, people, multiple clubs, mission accomplished, right? If craft beer is available everywhere, cold, fresh, and delicious, the need to homebrew is less and less, right? But homebrewing itself hasn't gotten that much easier, I would say, in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, right? It's no longer the Mr. Beer kit with the crappy hops and crappy can of malt, and you're just happy you made something, right? We're better than that now with the ingredients, but the processing is still the same amount of work. And so there have been attempts to sell essentially, Keurig style machines, right? So like machines that can sit and do your beer making for you, but it still takes a week or two to make. You still got to clean everything. And even those machines, when you would buy the Keurig pod of beer, costed more than more than the store bought stuff, right? And so unless you're making something super esoteric or some niche that's not being brewed, you're hosed. So that hasn't changed, and only ingredients have gone up in price since then. So I don't think home brewing is going to ever completely go away, but I think what we're going to be seeing in the next 10 years is essentially a leveling off down to a fraction of what it was, but still be around. I don't think it's, as long as you could buy the ingredients, people are going to brew their own beer. But all those returns and investment that the financial recession of 2008 brought into homebrewing, those have all gone all into production beer. And so we'll go back to something. I wasn't homebrewing back in the early 2000s. I was thinking about homebrewing back in the early 2000s, but we're going to get back to that, but with better ingredients and better processes, and we're going to reap all the benefits, all the production work. We just, we will not have the same number of people homebrewing as we used to. So not a bad thing, though. I don't think this is a bad thing. I think this is life.
But I was going to say, is there an opportunity? I know like this is all unpaid. This is all labor of love. Is there any kind of maybe outreach efforts, like setting up demos at college campuses or the Home Depot? Like,
it's a good question. I think that only comes about with a shift, legal shifts in drinking alcohol.
Right.
Which I don't think will happen, because there's an article that just came out that was like, not drinking is bad for the economy. Like, people's wellness efforts are going to tank part of the economy. But I would believe that other substances will be legalized to bump up that side of the economy. If that's true, right, then you will get legalization.
The unwellness economy.
The unwellness economy will be bracketed by that if alcohol does take a nosedive. But fine. Alcohol is not good for you. Like, drink it in moderation. I think people understand that, but I don't think it's going to go away. And if you have a scenario where, what will bring homebrewing back is, if you have a scenario where there's just no more craft brewers take a nosedive, homebrewing will be back immediately, for sure. Like, if you can't go down, within a few blocks or a few miles of where you live and can't get a great craft beer at a reasonable price and support a local business, homebrewing will definitely come back.
All right, amen to that, brother. So a couple weeks ago, there was the Craft Brewers Conference, which is an industry trade show. I believe it wasn't Vegas this year. It was
the East Coast. It was, damn, why am I blanking on this? They all went to the
totally blanking. I think wasn't Minnesota,
Indianapolis. Indianapolis.
Right. And so immediately, I was shown pictures. It's just the participation for the trade show end of it was lackluster. There was less people walking the floor, and vendors wondering, are we getting our return on the investment for having these intricate booths? Did we even sell any stainless steel or raw materials or the new gadget of the day or whatever it is? And so that was kind of a bummer. But they now hold, I think it's every other year, or is it every year now? I'm very unprepared for this segment, as you all can tell here at home.
Good, roll with it.
The World Beer Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And it's similar to the format of the Great American Beer Festival, except for it's opened up to the entire world. So breweries, if they want to submit beers for judging and placement, can do so. And there's always something funny that comes out of these awards, like the one year where nobody was awarded the Belgian wit beer gold, but Allagash got, the silver or the bronze. This year had a ha-ha moment in which Sierra Nevada Pale Ale won an award, and you've all heard of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and it's an amazing beer, and I don't even think that it's subjective. It's just a great beer.
Yeah, just perfect. It's quintessential American craft beer. You can't, I find it hard to believe if you drink a craft beer today and you don't know about it, you should be given one immediately. You should be issued one, like like blankets in the military. Like, you given your fatigues
right.
in a bottle of pale ale. Like, that's
right.
it. Yeah.
And speaking of bottle, I do like it better in the bottle than the can.
Agreed.
So the big ha-ha coming out of the World Beer Cup was Sierra Nevada Pale Ale won a gold medal, but they were entered in a newish category called American ESB.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the sign of the times. I was just catching up. I read some blogs about this earlier. It's funny because one commenter mentions, basically if you read the style guidelines and if you've entered a competition in craft beer homebrewing, most style guidelines developed by Michael Jackson and is the genre of those types of people and craft beer publications in the 70s and 80s. Style guidelines define a beer, and your judging is meant to how well do you meet those metrics. And so a fantastic beer out of whatever point scale should be exactly the style within the boundary of the style, for bitterness, for color, for flavor, for what have you. And if it's out of style, it's got a technical flaw or just not the same. Say entering a stout in, American Light Lager, those couldn't be more different. So you should not be giving it a high score, which is interesting. Especially I did this back with homebrewing back in the early 2010s. Was I would enter beers but not realize it's not that style, and I would be getting dinged a lot because I just wasn't meeting the style guidelines. It's not about how good the beer is, as in how technically well it was brewed. How do you meet the style? And because of the shifts in the American craft brewers market to juicier, hazier, basically things that didn't exist 10 or 20 years ago, these beers, these quintessential beers that have defined an entire business, like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, no longer meet the new style guidelines for American Pale Ale. So that's why it was brought into this. So pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, right now in California, you go for what's labeled a pale ale, it's going to be something, in my mind, it's green cheek with some exotic hop and a little bit of fruitiness, and not piney, refreshing, clean bitterness like a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Pale Ale, exactly.
So it's very interesting. And then I feel like a West Coast Pilsner really also kind of shook things up.
Yeah. You're having a beer that I think they never admitted it. If you talk to brewers, you have a few beers with them, like professional brewers, and talk to them, and they'll admit that a lot of their ales are actually brewed with lager yeast.
Right.
Because they're looking for a specific flavor profile that's very clean, crisp, a little acidic. And if you go and try to confuse people, because basically, like a lot of consumers don't really know the difference between ale and lager. You give them some yeast description and then, they're falling asleep.
Yeah.
They don't understand. And they don't, why should they? Why should they understand the differences? Why should they understand the taxonomy of fungi to enjoy their, milkshake IPA? They shouldn't need that. So they would admit, but then eventually what happened was the idea of Pilsner and lager was then accepted by the consumer as a value add, right? It was no longer just swill. It was something to be pursued. And then people like Green Cheek, Highland Park, the cold lager, cold IPA, what have you, eventually they bought into it. And that's where you think you just see essentially what would have been called pale ale, like hoppy pale ale, or session IPA is now, well, let's throw lager at the end of it. People like that, right? So,
yep.
It's pretty cool. It just shows that it's sad in some way, or maybe bittersweet that it couldn't win in the award in the style category it invented.
Right.
But it also shows that all of these competitions, whether it's for home brewing or for professional beer brewing, they do watch what is being drank and what is being entered. And if it doesn't make sense anymore, shift the style guidelines accordingly. But yeah, it is a little bittersweet. I think that's
yep.
SNPA is no longer it can't gold its own category. It's pretty funny.
And if anybody from Sierra Nevada is listening, can you guys work on the supply chain? Because there's too much old pale ale out in the market. Get on it.
Yep, get on it.
Get
out of here. Yeah.
If anything makes this beer less desirable, it's old pale ale.
Absolutely. Don't want it.
All right, Andy. So we're about, let's say, about 6 days away when we're recording this for Firestone Walker Invitational Beer Festival. Johnny and I will be coming up the Thursday before.
Mm-hmm. I'll be there Thursday night, probably in San Luis Obispo, but I'll be there Friday morning for sure. Doing a little camping, a little excursion,
paddle boating.
Get out of the office, do some Tai Chi, do a little yoga. Just getting older, and these events,
get centered.
They weigh on you. They weigh on you mentally. So, we've beaten certain aspects of this into the ground.
So now we're going to have a little fun with this. One of the biggest festivals in the country every year, now the gold standard. What's on your mind, Andy?
We looked at the list. We've been running the list. We'll republish the list. We do this every year. We do it. We track every brewer that's publicly announced they're attending, either through the website or through others. We track winners, losers, surprises. And for many years, there has been a set of breweries, I've called them the Immortals, that have always been invited, and they've been at every single Firestone Walker event since the beginning. And you may be surprised to find out that I believe I actually have the spreadsheet a little bit wrong, because I believe Lost Abbey has actually attended every single one, or has been invited to every single one, along with the brewery. It is now the first year where those two brewers will not be at Firestone Walker, the brewery and the Lost Abbey. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Now, is Three Floyds one of the Immortals?
Yes, Three Floyds is an Immortal.
That's great. That's great for them. And they're having a resurgence right now.
Yes, they're getting back. They've dusted off the zombie dust. It's coming in zombie ice, whatever crazy stout. I'm sure they're going to double up on those Earl Grey.
They expanded on the gumball line.
The gumball line. The gumball line extension is here. Other notable Immortals, Cigar City, Boneyard.
Is Cigar City still coming?
They were on the list the last time I checked.
I'm pulling up the app.
Hold on.
I do know that.
Maybe I missed this one. It is not on the banner, so I will remove them from the Immortals.
I have the app. Everybody, they're going boom, boom, boom.
So some Immortals, your heroes, let them die. Sometimes they have to go on. Who else is coming? I mean, of course, Revolution, Russian River's an Immortal.
Birrifico Italiano is an Immortal.
Birrifico Italiano is not, because they were out in 22 and they're out in 18 and out in 12.
Ooh, I was very far.
Very hard for an international to stay every year. That's what I've noticed. Very hard for them to come every single year. There's always something going on. So other news, I am a little sad, no Topa Topa this year, but they have their anniversary party, so I'm not that surprised. The other interesting one, and you cop this one, was the addition of Radiant but not Everywhere Brewing.
Yep. And that, I think I explained on one episode that it's a balancing act for Matt Brennelson to not make it a California beer festival.
That makes a lot of sense. That's totally legit. You want to, I would say, I think you will see this, and I don't think this event is going anywhere. It's a huge fundraiser for Paso Robles. It's a huge event for Firestone Walker. And it is a fundraising event, so it's not like they need to make money on this for it to succeed. It is fundraising for Pioneer Days. So I think you're as long as people are drinking Firestone Walker, I don't think this event's going anywhere. But I do think it's interesting if they started doing rotations of areas and not just the same person every time. So like, if you're a great brewery, you're going to go every other year, every 3 years, not just the guaranteed people. I would say notables, and then I want to go through the over, under, and the line. So the notables, we have people like Lawson's are coming out, which is going to be great. The other notable here, there was a second one I remember. I have to look at my list here. Of course, we talked about Urban Roots earlier, so Urban Roots will be there.
First year for Fidens.
First year for Fidens, who was also on the first year club. The new kids on the block, Fidens, and then there was Bofcont, something like that.
There's a bunch of international breweries that are new, which is that's what keeps Matt excited.
We're getting Allagash back after multiple years of lack of attendance. Alchemist is back. Alchemist has only been once before, and Alchemist is in.
First year for Horace Agedale's.
Horace Agedale's got to get those pastry stouts. Going up against Private Press and Side Project in this regard, right? So interesting. Let's see. Yeah. So then I would say every year, if you've never gone, they do a app, and the app allows the public to vote. And voting is, I almost never stick around for that end of it. I'm always going to some other party or some other shindig afterwards. So I'm terrible attendance at the big end of reveal who's won. But if I had to put my money, if you're putting your money down on this, I'm going to go the negative or below the line. So I'm learning about betting because I've never done betting before in my life. What's an easy win is a Green Cheek. Green Cheek always is there.
They've already won the last 2 years.
And they've won the last 2 years. So that's below the line. I would say even money is going to be on Alchemist, because
that's weird.
I think it is. I think it's easy for them to do it because they bring some interesting stuff. And then
I mean, have you looked at so the app, if you get the app,
they
you
have,
can
they have their beers up there. What beers?
Yep.
Do they say what beers they're bringing?
I think it's like, Focal Banger.
Okay.
Hold on. Beers on tap. They have a beer called Dark,
Okay.
Focal Banger, Heady Topper, and Just Say Gay.
Interesting. Okay. Weird flex. I would say
4%, 4.7% gay pale ale.
Maybe they're the dark horse for this. And then what even money? I put even money on Russian River.
They're also not. I mean, of course, there's probably stuff that they're not listing or going to have special pours.
Yeah.
They're not bringing the heat either.
Interesting.
So we got Faunio Blonde Ale.
Mm-hmm. They had that. They premiered that last year at Firestone Walker.
Pliny the Elder,
of course.
A beer called 110 Pills.
Interesting. Okay.
So not STS. Small batch intinction.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they have listed.
Interesting. Who was the brewery? Why am I blanking on their Garage Project? Garage Project are coming back. They also have the ability to win.
Yes.
But basically, It's kind of like a Garage Project versus a Green Chic situation is what I would say.
Right. Yeah, Garage Project always has a crazy line. They're always doing some culinary-inspired concoction.
Mm-hmm. Yoho Brewing, maybe they're the dark horse. Yoho is very good.
Great. They've been doing
Japanese
really good.
brewery, very good.
Yep.
Super nice people. I interviewed them maybe 1 or 2 years ago. I mean, just the nicest people in the world. So yeah, Yoho is your dark horse. Your even money is on Garage. Your absolutely probably shoe-in is Green Cheek. Try all 3 of those breweries if you're attending. Really, everyone's going to be fantastic. And don't sleep on Hop Butcher the World or or Ghost Town.
Yep.
So
no Omnipolo.
No, yeah, I mean, honestly, it is funny. They turned on the slushy machine so everyone else could pour it for themselves. I mean, really seeing way above us playing 4D chess with the slushy machine before anyone else got to it. So
no Sante Darius.
That is interesting. That is something. I think that's the one where it's like they do have the cachet, but something must be conflicting with that weekend and not something else. That's my guess, because that seems like an easy one, especially with the lack of representation in sour beers and sour beer brewing and like wild ale types. Why
there was a lot.
So
I really went through the whole app the other night. A lot more sours than what I would imagined, but
interesting.
Maybe it's a play for the warm weather and maybe a more casual crowd.
We're looking at 80 degrees this year. It isn't. I was surprised. It doesn't to think about the size of it. It's like 4,000 people.
Yep.
It doesn't feel like 4,000 people.
Right.
But it is 4,000 people. And I guess it is not ins and outs, but throughout the day. So 80 degrees, all the food you could want or even think about having. Yeah, looking forward to it. Looking to see everyone there in a few days.
Yep, it's going to be great. Well, Andy, I'm going to go stretch. I'm going to start, doing my yoga and my meditation so I can get in the right mindset for this. Johnny and I are going to be working with Firestone Walker on creating content. We're hosting some video. We're doing a little different than we have in previous years, where we're going to try and have almost real-time edited footage. It's going to be very interesting. It should be a lot of fun. You're going to see us yucking it up with some of the, beer industry elite.
Fantastic. Yep. I'll be there. I'm going to hit my Bowflex. I'm going to get on the bike, on the Peloton, and I'll be ready to drink the best beers in the country with you. And everyone at Firestone, please find us. Please flag us down, get a photo. Maybe we'll have some swag. I don't know. See what's cooking around over here. But yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, Andy. Well, thanks. It's nice talking to you, and we will talk soon. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That the reason for all life is the sun in the sky. I gotta stop wondering why. I had some stress, but it's gone. Didn't know what was wrong. really sure what we have to hide. Have to explain the need to get by.